enough, and it's time for a change!
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We're back here for another review, and the best part of course, the swan song in the last ride of The Undertaker, having a pretty entertaining match with AJ Styles. And instead of tearing off his best moments, his iconic wins at WrestleMania, his debut. I mean, they did show his debut back at Survivor Series of '91. It felt like a nothing but a recap. Only 3 matches, and a majority of them, I swear to God, I tried to skip segment after skip segment. The thing that caught my eye was Braun actually had a promo that lasted for at least over 3 minutes, and then the rest of it was just complete horse water, just dirty water. I don't know where horse water comes from, but it's the best way for me not to say the S word. So we of course had a preview over The Undertaker's Boneyard match, and then of course Baron Corbin would try to interrupt a wholesome moment so we can get perennial get out my TV. I mean heel heat. Of course he's disrespecting a legend, saying he's overstaying his weapon, that he's been kissing the McMahon's ass for more than he can count. Over 30 years of this, and he's a bag of bones. And he says the most disrespectful thing ever, that nobody even stopped AJ Styles, even though he disrespected his wife, his career. Jeff Hardy just came in because he said he sucks. Yeah, I understand Undertaker was retiring. It was probably the worst thing ever, and they're still giving the perennial TV time to a jobber. King Corbin's a jobber. And that sounds harsh for probably him if he ever, I'm talking about ever watches this, but he's a jobber. A majority of these wins on pay-per-view, on Smackdown tonight were jobbers. Of course, Jeff Hardy was going to feud with Corbin. Beat Corbin for a feel-good moment because of The Undertaker. It was involving The Undertaker, and of course, we had Nikki Cross in a fatal 4-way, I think it was a 4-way, mind you, that she won, even though she lost to Alexa Bailey twice on SmackDown for the SmackDown Women's title. So why not push anybody else probably Alexa, that's more likable, or at least Dana, because she hasn't been a major threat, even though she pinned the SmackDown Women's Champion Naomi twice. A former champion, and she still gets opportunities. While we get people like Naomi just coming back to SmackDown, she gets an immediate shot on pay-per-view. This is completely dumb, and they call it the horror show. It's called Extreme Rules. Vince has gotten so bored of his concepts that he doesn't care. It's call it Hell in a Cell. The Great Balls of Fire edition. What the hell am I supposed to get from this? Yes, it's nice that they tribute The Undertaker over his recent retirement, finally, after over 30 plus years in the wrestling business. And of course, his, iconic matches, his iconic moments, his iconic gimmick, his iconic character, and his locker room leadership. And he will be completely missed. I love The Undertaker. I kind of like Jericho better, but other than that, I can't denounce the respect I have for The Undertaker. Other than that, the rest of the show was terrible. What were we supposed to get from this? We didn't even get a vignette from Sheamus. There was, of course, nothing out of anything. I didn't even... There was some controversy why the Forgotten Sons, a young tag team that was a young group that was supposed to spice up the SmackDown roster, thanks to their bare bones, and they lost to Roman Reigns. Because it's a pandemic, my dumbass doesn't want to die. I'm going to stay at home. Okay, so we won't reference you on TV anymore. Why? He took it for most of the decade, half of the 2010s, he wasn't playing a major part of being a main eventer. Bray Wyatt continues to lose, and Braun Strowman is pretty much the most irrelevant Universal Champion out of Kevin Owens. Or Finn Balor, per se. Thanks, he only has 1 reign, and the shortest reign lasting under 24 hours. The guy could barely hold it because he suffered a shoulder injury. Mind you, that's not his fault. The rest of why he couldn't even win it back is his fault. So, yeah, I'm sorry if I'm being harsh, but that's how I feel. It was every time I watch SmackDown, I swear for many people it's a chore. It's a bare bones chore to watch an episode of SmackDown. So we had Dana Brooke, Nikki Cross, and Lacey Evans and Alexa Bliss in a 4-way match to see who will face off against Bayley at Extreme Rules. Awesome. I totally care about Bayley. The SmackDown Women's title is just a secondary women's title. I'm shocked they couldn't just make a women's mid-card championship and get it over with. Because they tried to denounce the women's title by doing two. That makes no sense. Especially how minimum the women's division is. They can't push a women's tag division. They can't put that many top-tier women in the roster. And still, you make these matches. You make Bayley still have TV time. You even try making her heel. She doesn't do anything different. She's the Down syndrome version of Britt Baker if she was uglier. It's just poor. And I don't care what any of you guys say. If she's thick, if she's a nice person, it doesn't matter. If she's obviously not captivating any crowd, and Vince said he already dislikes crowds to begin with, it's like, what? You know, the whole part of getting excitement on your show is a crowd reaction. And you're giving these minute little midgets just shouting boo or whose man's is this or anything else they just exhibit out of nowhere. It just feels like there's a teleprompter above their heads telling them who to cheer and who the hell to boo. It's just poor. The match itself is sluggish as it got. They got Meteora, Hurricane Arana, Twisted Bliss for a knee for a counter. It was a front to back flip into a women's right until Nikki Cross with a surprise roll up. I went to the bare bones of calling this match because it felt like there was no storytelling other than the Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross were tag team, and they still treated with respect or such. They didn't break any pinfalls. At least it would make sense if they did like the rip off of Batista and Rey Mysterio back at Bragging Rights, I think, of 2009, because at least they have a long history, and Batista been trying to get back at the top tier poll. Like, you're telling me Alexa doesn't want to be like, I want to win back the women's title. I don't care. You're a player the entire time. Like, something like that. Like, I don't care who won this match, because the SmackDown Women's title is like, I don't want to say an IC title. It's probably the IC title of the women's division. Because like that's a secondary title. The Raw Women's title is more important because it's on a more top show, and more important women held it. Even Nia Jax held it. And I felt bad because I thought Naomi was a fine talent, and they don't even like give Tamina another shot, even though she's shown to be a big major singles act. So it's like they only give her one loss and that's it. I don't understand the inconsistencies here with WWE. So Nikki Cross gets a shot after a surprise roll-up for a forgettable Fatal 4-Way. Next up was the New Day and Lucha House Party tagging to face off an 8-man tag with Miz and Morrison and Shinsuke Nakamura. Seizure, Mick Beaver, and of course Cesaro that can't do anything. Can't do anything to get himself over anymore. And they started like a backstage segment with, I think it was Grand Metalik on top of Lince Dorado wearing a goddamn sombrero. Did everybody forget that Kalisto was part of the Lucha House Party, by the way? They ended up just getting into a weird altercation that's super awkward and ended abruptly with Miz and Morrison holding Cesaro and Nakamura back. Like, what is Nakamura going to say that's going to be threatening unless he's going to pause for the for the first word that comes out of his mouth. So, yeah, this happened. There was some nice bright spots in the match. It was literally the best match of the show, I swear. I did not care about the main event. Hurricane Rana. A good rotation and springboard into a Canadian Destroyer. Running Shining Wizard. Nakamura just spasming for no reason. It just felt like this match meant nothing. Probably they're just going to do a multi-man match for the tag team titles because there's nothing really to fight for. And I don't know what happened to the Usos. It's literally been their more popular feud for like a few years. I don't really care. Grand Metalik with elevated frog splash won it. That's a surprise. So the Lucha House Party take the win in an 8-man tag. I can care less. I could really care less. We didn't even get anything exciting for next week on SmackDown. Thanks to majority of SmackDown was just taken up by The Undertaker's career recap footage. And then we had the main event, Jeff Hardy represents his mentor and a Hall of Famer, a future Hall of Famer in The Undertaker. And I don't care, because I know Jeff was going to win. Obviously, to gain momentum back for his loss to Sheamus, and practically to just defend The Undertaker's honor. And this is the second time he already beat Corbin. Like, anybody else could have made sense. Isn't Kane still active? Anybody else? Why would it be Jeff Hardy again? Just to make him still feel like he has a major part to play on SmackDown. And you make the King of the Ring, the glorified jobber. Like, why are we treating this like a comedic gimmick? Sheamus as King of the Ring was better. At least he won the world title that same year. Corbin hasn't won the championship since like 2017 or 18. And I understand he keeps bringing up his older accomplishments. Of course, Gather Heel, like he's a generic narcissist. But it's boring. Forearm, deep six. Twist of Fate, a running splash off the outside using the steps. The biggest thing that only caught my attention was Corbin missing a dumbass tackle to the steel steps that he obviously hurt himself through. Dumb strikes. It just... I'm sorry, folks. If you feel like I'm being less energetic, it's just... SmackDown did nothing for me. Everybody was just there supporting The Undertaker's honor. And I understand, great respect for The Undertaker, but really, all of this to just denounce... This is the second time. Why would you make a heel win a major thing like the King of the Ring? It's like going in a 10-match losing streak after winning the G1 Climax. What was the point of getting Corbin over and give him all the screen time if he keeps losing the top-tier guys? What feud did he win other than beating Chad Gable twice? That's the only feud that he selectively won. And it's not like they keep majorly pushing him because we're in the middle of the year. And still nothing's happening, folks. He lost on the Swanton Bomb. Boom. We also had a Braun Strowman promo inviting... Let's go to the swamp, Bray. My black wife is there. With your black wife is there. Braun doesn't have a black wife. He has some chick from NXT. I can care less. I think she's with Dakota Kai or something. I can care less. Still. I don't care. He literally had a better promo than he did the last several months. Other than bringing up the past, even though, no disrespect, even renovating his character. And now he has a train now in his entrance, so he has a train with his face on it, and it blows by with steam coming back. How come they keep trying to make creative entrances for him now? And it's so depressing. Like, finally, they finally get this guy over. Too bad he was a replacement. I can care less about the main event scene on SmackDown. And yet Impact is releasing all these guys. And we released all our future guys. So that's going to be on us. And it just ends up so abruptly. Braun just got a sign from the Fiend, I guess. Even though, I wouldn't trust anything involving the Fiend, thanks he lost to a 50-year-old Goldberg for the world title. And then he got in a forgettable feud with John Cena. That was just a second chance match for Bray to win at his own terms. How was that supposed to get him over? And Jesus, he lost to Braun, reclaiming his Universal title back. Then nothing else happened. It's so dumb. It's such a dumb gimmick, and it obviously doesn't make him incredibly intimidating because he doesn't win a lot. And you make him this part-time guy, even though if you want a guy like that gets strong, you want him to actually be intimidating. You make him get in subplots, you get him in sub feuds, and you make him win consistently. Then we treat him as a top guy. What's the most notable wins that he had over the time being the Fiend? Cena and Rollins and Balor. Nobody was ever affected negatively over the Fiend's wins. Most of them come back anyway or don't suffer severe injury. Like, one time it was the Mandible Claw put on Rollins, and then he started bleeding out his mouth back at Hell in a Cell. The guy's perfectly fine and was ready to compete the next week. And he wouldn't even drop the Universal title to him until probably a month later. Dumb. Completely dumb. And people think I'm really excited to see another match and whatever cinematography BS crap that they're trying to show for the main event of the pay-per-view. This isn't a selling point. It's desperation. It's dumb. They're gonna completely de-redcon this when fans are back on the area. This is just a poor main event, just to give respect to the Undertaker and all this crap. Folks, it gets a 4 out of 10. This episode gets a 4 out of 10. If you think differently, please type it down in the comment section. We had Matt Riddle there, and he didn't even have a match. He wasn't even trying to be cocky or anything. Nobody was showing any character. Everybody was just happy to be there. Or Corbin just being a heel. It's generic. That's it coming from the DST show. Like, comment, subscribe, and thanks for watching.